Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It is the Kevin Jackson Show, KJRadio.com. I hope you had a good weekend not watching football. Yeah, they're struggling in the NFL. I hope you had a good weekend enjoying yourself, understanding that you are in the driver's seat, conservatives. Yeah, that's right. Are you watching what's happening in the news? The news cycle last week couldn't have been better for conservatives, couldn't have been better for Donald Trump. And it couldn't have been better for exposing this crooked system that has been milking you of money that Donald Trump's trying to set out. And I don't care. Leftists, have your win with Judge Roy Moore. Doug Jones, having defeated Roy Moore. Have it. Because you know what's happening right now? Brewing scandals in Washington, D.C., exposing what's been going on there. Your $17 million plus. Don't believe that figure, by the way. It's more than that. $17 million spent paying off sexual deviants, the victims of sexual deviance in Congress. That's a scandal in and of itself. Who would allow for that? Who would say, think about this, people. We know that, they paid off these people. Who would allow for that? Who would write something like that into their thing? Only the left. They wrote Harvey Weinstein's contract, for example, to say, in the event of sexual harassment, we'll pay off these people or whatever. That's what the left does. Can you imagine, as a conservative, you're forming a company, or I'm forming a company, and I say, hey, listen, board of directors, just in the event, and let's just play devil's advocate here, that somebody wants to sue me for sexual deviancy or misconduct, let's set aside a little slush fund that says we'll pay for it, and let's not reveal that I'm that type of person. Please, let's not do that. Now, can you imagine a group of women on my board, men on my board going, Kevin, you never know. Let's do that. How much would you think we need to set aside? I don't know. How about 17 million? How about 25 million? Or what if we do this? Listen, board of directors, you bunch of manly-looking, beautiful, handsome, conservative guys, let's set aside a slush fund. I'm not saying you guys are into anything, but let's set aside a little slush fund that says, in the event that you want to go molest some boys or girls or whatever, then we're going to put it aside so you can get away with it. Now, while they go on their witch hunt for Roy Moore, look at what he did 40 years ago, they completely ignore that Congress has set aside a slush fund to pay for sexual deviants like Meeks and Conyers and Franken and others to pay off their victims. Think about that. They go on a witch hunt. Donald Trump grabbed somebody by the... Oh, by the way, let's ignore that Congress is taking taxpayer funds to set aside and pay off sexual deviants. And you know what? It's unlimited. How much money? Does it matter how much has been paid out? $17 million? Because if it needed to be 70, they pay it. It was an unlimited resource. And you know who was going to pay for it? You, Mr. Unlimited or Mrs. Unlimited conservative. You're paying for it. And now they're mad at you because you're going, what the heck are you talking about? I'm not paying for your deviancy. Well, I tell you what, why don't we all go out tomorrow and go pay for crackheads to get their dope? Oh, you are doing that. You know that, right? Yeah, with your SNAP cards, because we found out a scandal where they're using welfare cards to buy crack. There were one dealer, dope dealer in the St. Louis area, had 122 SNAP cards he was paid for dope for when they arrested him. I'm just telling you what's out there, folks. And they're mad at you because you're going, wait a minute, I'm not paying for your crack. I'm not paying for your prostitutes. I'm not paying for your gambling. I'm not paying for your vices. I got enough things to pay for on my own, besides paying for that. But God forbid you take the money away from the kids that's trying to go to college. The poor little black and brown kids. See, that's what they do. They use you. They use us, black folks and brown folks, so that they can go extort money from you white people out there listening. And they're out there. You white folks are out there. I know. This is Kevin Jackson, black man. But there's a lot of you white people listening, and you know I'm not lying. So all these leftists are trying to rally around their causes and deflect.
Donald Trump's the real problem here.
Oh, really? So how many women did Weinstein, commandeer and do whatever he did? And what about if you took Weinstein and Bill Clinton? You could take about 50 to 100 conservative dudes, and you still wouldn't come near the number that those two people by themselves have molested or ruined the lives of. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah, glory. He preaching now. I love it when Kevin starts to preach.
Do you love it when Kevin starts to talk to himself? You guys love it when Kevin starts to talk to himself, don't you? Yeah, exactly. If I got to witness this, I'd be feeling good too. So, look, I don't know what you did over the weekend. I hope you had fun with the family. I hope you had fun with friends and did whatever you needed to do. But let me tell you, busy times, good times for us. You are about to watch the week that it could be one of the more explosive weeks in politics. I'm exaggerating this not. This is one of the most explosive weeks. So what have we learned? We learned that Mueller wants to have a meeting with President Trump's attorneys. That was an explosive story that broke. Mueller wants to meet and figure out what's going on. We also found out that some scumbag attorney, a leftist attorney, was trying to get pay so-called, I'm using my finger quote, victims of Donald Trump to get people to pay their legal fees. So what a scam that turns out to be. You're about to see the biggest break in these sex scandals that you've seen in our history. That goes back to what I was just saying earlier. All these things, folks, are being revealed to you. And I'm not kidding you. I feel like it's biblical. Like God says, all things shall be revealed. And boom, we get the most unlikely president in the history of the country. Admit it. If I'd said to you 2 years ago Donald Trump was going to be president, like Ann Coulter did on Bill Maher's show, we've all been laughing at each other. Oh, Kevin, come on, Kevin. You. Right? Yeah, we'd all be laughing, including me. So we've got the most unlikely president who is peeling back the layers of this crooked government layer by layer and defeating every single institution that's gone against him. Folks, you're listening to Kevin Jackson. Back in just a bit.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful four-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville. Can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. There was a guy who wrote, well, let me say who I am first. Kevin Jackson. This is the Kevin Jackson Show. Go check us out. Racepimping.com. And our movie should wrap here sometime in the next few days. And when we're done with that, we will start our premieres, and hopefully you guys will be interested in hosting a premiere or something like that. If you have any interest at all, contact us at kjradio.com, which, by the way, is where you can catch the show on demand 24/7 anytime you want, or listen live when we broadcast. So, I am the problem. There was a filmmaker, his name is Morgan Spurlock, and you're going, who, Kevin? What's he got to do with anything? Yeah. And he revealed in an unprompted extended tweet titled, I Am the Problem, instances where he's sexually harassed a female assistant and confessed to cheating on, quote, every wife and every girlfriend I ever had. Now, this is the guy that did Super Size Me, which is a documentary where he said he went to, McDonald's and he ate it all at the same time and he didn't gain weight or whatever. I don't remember whether he gained weight or didn't gain weight. I didn't watch it. And what I suspect of Morgan Spurlock, or Moreland, if you want to call him that, Morgan Spurlock, is he's an attention seeker. See, guys like him, they say, this is the hot item right now, sexual, impropriety. And he's going, I am the problem because I sexually harassed a female assistant. I don't know what that means, but we'll get to it in just a second. And then he says he cheated on every wife and every girlfriend he ever had. So that's the problem. Let me just say this to Morgan, and I know I'm talking to the entire audience, but here's the deal, Morgan. Every one of your girlfriends and your wives, they cheated on you. Now, you're saying,
Whoa, Kevin, hold on, women, you're talking about women here. Women are sacrosanct. I mean, come on, what are you doing here, man? Don't become a misogynist.
No, I'm telling you, they knew what he was doing, and they cheated on him. Morgan thinks he's been carrying around this guilt. I cheated on all of them. Let me tell you, these women saw Morgan was making mortgage payments for people. As my friend would say, he's fattening up frogs for other snakes. Those women spent their time with him, got to say, I was with a filmmaker or whatever. And look, I'm not trying to be mean towards all women. I'm just telling Morgan wants to take on. He's saying
men are evil, men are bad, men are dogs.
Really? Okay. So tell us what we don't already know about guys. But guess what? The women's movement occurred, and women are just as bad. I'll give you a story. So one of my buddies is a famous song. Well, he's not famous in the sense that who he is, but his songs have been sung by, very important, not important, but big names, Madonna and others. Along that line, got hit records. He doesn't have to work. And he tells me a story. We were talking and he says, Kevin, he goes, 2 times in my life this happened. He goes, I was in a session, and I won't tell you who the artist was, but he says, I'm in there with an artist and we're recording, and because he's also a jazz pianist. He's a really good keyboardist. So he goes, we're recording, and we get done. He's a good-looking guy. And he goes, we get done, and they were recording a 3-woman group, and he was sitting in with them. And he says, they wrap up, and one of the women says to him, the lead singer comes up and they say, well, hey, what do you guys want to do with the other musicians? We're going to go get some dinner or whatever. And the lead singer says, you guys, you ladies go ahead and go with them. I'm going to stay behind and perform, I'll just say, Lewinsky on my friend. And he was like, taken aback. Like, what? Now, this is a kid, raised Catholic, religious, by the way, this was before he became, had his dollars, got his bucks. But he's like just taken aback, like, no, we're going to go to dinner. And then it happened again. He says they were at a gig, and I don't know the details, but I know one of the ladies was singing, and it was a group, and they came to the bar. He was over by the bar, and he says we all played the same, this venue, and one of the ladies came over and said identically the same thing when everybody goes, hey, do we all want to go and do something else? She says, no, I'm going to stay behind and do this. Two different women. And he says, Kevin, it was at that point, I was thinking, wow, the sexual revolution is just wild. He goes, who in his wildest dreams growing up, he would have never believed that women would come to him and say something like that. So Morgan wants to ride this wave of feminism. He's admitting, I'm the problem. But he's not just saying him, he's saying it's all of us. And here's what he says. As I sit around, hero after hero, man after man, fall at the realization of their past indiscretions, I don't sit by and wonder who will be next. I wonder, when will they come for me? Spurlock wrote before detailing an incident when in college in which he said the woman he was dating, quote, believed she was raped. Light bright, that kid's toy, that's all I can see and think about, she said, and she started to cry. Spurlock recalled her saying, I didn't know what to do. We stopped having sex and I rolled beside her. I tried to comfort her to make her feel better. I thought I was doing okay. I believed she was feeling better. She believed she was raped. Now, look, I'm not here to moralize about different people's situations, but, what we are doing right now is we are opening up Pandora's box. And guys like him are not really helping, because all these so-called repressed feelings are the people are like, oh, you know what, in that situation, I didn't feel like he loved me. I felt like an object. Well, did you say that when you first began? And the answer is no. And I'm not saying that when somebody decides, and again, no is no, whether it's during or whatever. But the point is, that's so speculative and it's so out there. And this guy is feeding the real issue, because the real issue is there are women who are being brutalized, not by I'm with a guy and I don't know if I want to be with him and all. That's human interaction. We're not talking about women that are getting dragged into, whatever, and accusing men. And we're taking the spotlight off of these real issues. And I think that's the danger of guys like him. And let me tell you, all Morgan Spurlock is trying to do is set the stage for his next project. I went out and I talked to all my old girlfriends and I talked to women about these situations. And, oh, by the way, here's my documentary, and come see it because it's going to make me some money. He's not really looking to solve a problem, because if he were, he'd be asking a lot of different questions than just this. He'd be exploring much more of the psyche of the women involved and what was going on, explaining to us what was going on at the time than he is. But that's not what he's trying to do, and that's not what the left tries to do. They just try to jump onto something and profit. Short break. We'll be back.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. So we've all been talking about this situation that Donald Trump supposedly did all these things with different women. And I warned you guys when they got rid of Franken, they started touting Gillibrand, and she's going to be the next savior of women, when she's been seen with every lecherous leftist on the planet, taking money, for her campaigns, doing, as Donald Trump would say, just about anything to get a donation. And you could just see it. And what's happened is the left, they can't even disguise their trickery anymore. You can call their plays. Maybe I'm just getting good at it, or you're getting good at it, or we're all getting better at it. Who knows? But we can see it a mile away. And so, oh, this media story, we're like, fake news, moving on. And they can't stand it. But now we start to uncover all the details behind it. We know that they're setting these women up. And I got to tell you, when or trying to set these women up as being, all the virtuous women that they were. And we find out one was, Donald Trump was staring at her when she was naked under her robe. And we had one of the pageant directors who came out with an impassioned plea that says, I've been around, Donald Trump in many of these pageants, and he is nothing but respectful to the women. Not a single one of them ever came up to me. She's the one that the girls bring their problems to. There's not a single one. So every instance it's been debunked. It's the same thing with Roy Moore. I don't care what you think about Roy Moore as a person or whatever. These allegations of 35, 40 years, I've talked to many women, and they go, I completely dismiss it because you've gotten smarter. You know how the media works. And we know that the left are nothing but scoundrels. That's what they are. Scumbags. And they get mad at us for pointing these things out. But in the first segment of the program today, I told you every situation where you could go. When you get it all together, when somebody explains all the different things that have been done, the lies, the scandalous activities, you're sitting there literally left holding your breath going, wow. Like, what? What we've witnessed they wanted to tear down Trump. And I got to tell you, if there's anything that I respect about Donald Trump, is that he said, I don't care. You say what you want to say, whatever. The people want this. And whatever it was that made him tap into saying the right thing at the right time, or I don't know, the nexus that occurred in us that said we're no longer going to trust the media. Whatever happened, the godly intervention, I welcome it, because I'm thrilled that Donald Trump said you can take my tape with Billy Bush and blow it out of context and try to pretend that I'm a rapist of women, or that I grab women by the vaginas, but people know. It's funny because I still get asked the question, Kevin, do you think he meant that like he was, making up like what I could do, or he did? And I'm like, are you serious? It's like Donald Trump saying, I could have taken a woman and stripped her bra off, like ripped her clothes off in front of the cameras, and she would have just laughed it off like we had planned it. If he had said something like that, it wasn't something he'd done. It was something he was trying to give Billy Bush an example of. Man, what do you want me to tell you about these groupies? They're willing to do this. I mean, whatever. And he certainly knows it. And you know what? The public went, he's exactly right. So I look at these types of stories in the backdrop of just talking about this guy that said, I am the problem, this supersize me filmmaker, trying to push this off onto men. We're the problem. So what do we find out? We find out that this scumbag leftist lawyer actually looked for donors to pay for these fake accusers. She promised these people money. And then she had to deliver. That what they were hoping is that they'd get a settlement or whatever. There is an actual business of accusing people of things that are fake. I've gone through some of them from a personal perspective. I'm talking about what I told about my sister and her girlfriend saying, can I borrow your pregnancy test so she could go extort 3 guys that she's having sex with out of abortion money? You want to make a quick $1,000? Go tell the 3 guys you're sleeping with you got to get an abortion because you're pregnant. They're going to fork it over. Most Americans are not even surprised to learn that these prominent Democrats, folks, political people that are supposed to be virtuous, they're colluding to taint Donald Trump. And they were moderately successful, except for the fact that Donald Trump doesn't give a crap about their unfounded allegations. And this is the reason why he sits in the White House, because most of the people that we know could not have withstood the onslaught of the press and the pressure that they would put onto you and just bringing out bimbo after bimbo after bimbo. His Trump card, pardon the pun, is the fact that he's a good-looking billionaire. It made it very difficult for people to believe that a guy, when I say good looking, I'm saying it was a matter of perspective, but you can't say Trump was ugly. And I guarantee you, The dude's dressed nice. It doesn't take much to make you pretty, to make you handsome. You know what I'm saying? So the simple strategy was to accuse Trump of womanizing with one woman, and then they'd slowly add to the number. Oh, no, now it's 3. Oh, my goodness, now it's 6. And the last number I heard, I don't know if you guys heard this one. What'd you hear? Yeah, I heard 19. Yeah, 19. So the 19 women Trump's past are going to say this good-looking billionaire needs to resort to coercion in order to get women. But that was the plan. And all the left needed were the women. But unfortunately for them, they didn't exist. Somebody concocted this evil plan and went, we can take a woman and accuse Donald Trump of being a womanizer. And then we'll add to it. And there'll be 3. And then there'll be 6. And then there'll be 19. And somebody goes, well, do we have these women, sir? Sire. And the guy goes, well, no. And he goes, but we'll get them. I want you to just think about the devious nature of this plan. So the one they rolled out was Donald Trump's old girlfriend, and she's like, no, I had it was a great relationship. I watched her interview, and she goes, they lied. The New York Times actually cut my interview, and they lied. I was like, whoa. Now, I knew they were liars, so it wasn't like that was a shock anymore, but she called them out. So the women didn't exist, but hey, don't let reality get in the way of their evil plot. So, according to The Hill, Democrats put a comp package together. Well-known women's rights lawyers sought to arrange compensation for donors and tabloid media outlets for women who made or consider making sexual misconduct allegations against Donald Trump during the final months of the 2016 campaign. Now, while the left is out there hunting for Russians and interference in the campaign, you have people orchestrating to go against Donald Trump and to say, I'm going to gather up these women, central casting. We need beautiful women, women who've maintained their beauty. Not even in some cases they didn't. A couple of them were pretty ugly. Over this period of time where you've had any potential interaction with Donald Trump, if you got pictures, even better. And we need you to accuse him. One woman said, well, he was with Melania. He put his hand on my butt. And I'm going, really? So dude's dating a billionaire playboy, dates supermodel, and during a photo op, which included his fiancée, the supermodel, he's going to put his hand on your commoner butt. Not when he's got Melania's rock hard booty. It ain't going to happen, baby. So people get it. So anyway, this Lisa Bloom was offering to sell alleged victim stories to TV outlets in return for commission for herself, arranging for a donor to pay off these Trump accusers' mortgages, 6-figure payouts, and these women declined to come forward, even though some were offered as much as $750,000. Do you think that CNN and MSNBC are going to report on this story and say, you know what, Donald Trump, we owe you an apology? This is the type of thing that sullies up politics, and it never should have happened to you. Do you think that Clinton, she got her butt kicked, but who cares? But do you think she would ever apologize to Donald Trump? The women's accounts were chronicled, they said, in contemporaneous contractual documents, emails, text messages that were reviewed by The Hill, including an exchange of texts between one woman and Bloom that suggested political action committees supporting Hillary Clinton were contacted during the effort. This is an orchestrated attack job on a presidential candidate. People should be going to prison over this, but you can bet nothing will happen. Now, Bloom has assisted dozens of women in these sexual harassment cases. She's defended she was the person actually defending Weinstein, believe it or not. And that's because he's a prominent Democrat donating to Clintons.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. Glad you're with me. We're talking about these scandalous Democrats and all of the tricks that they've used in order to get elected. Because here's the thing, folks. This is the Kevin Jackson Show, by the way. KJRadio.com. What we've learned about the Democrats is they cannot win if all they want to talk about are policies and ideologies and what works and what doesn't. They can't win. If they can't dress something up to be a better alternative than the worst thing they've set you out to be. So I'll use Judge Roy Moore as an example. If how would you vote for a pedophile when you could have this guy that likes killing babies and he doesn't date pedophiles? I mean, he doesn't date young girls. So the false choices they give you leave you no choice but to take the lesser of two evils. But ask yourself, do you really support Doug Jones's platform? He's for open borders. He doesn't care whether Muslims come in to kill you. He obviously has no scruples because he's a Democrat, and he enjoys killing black babies in massive numbers because he's a proponent of Planned Parenthood. And I could go on. He's for every failed policy that Barack Obama implemented, not because he really cares, because he doesn't. He's not going to live under that. The beauty of being a leftist is you're never going to live under the laws that you pass for the sodomites, for the minions. So what do I care? If you'll give me the most money and you'll make sure that I've got all the funding I need, to run my campaign and keep my thing going, I'll vote any way you want. I don't have to have any scruples about it. Do you think Obamacare applies to me? No. Do you think Social Security applies to me? No. Do you think that the rules of the stock market apply to me? No. None of it applies. You know what? Let's look at the stock market for just a second. Donald Trump has got a stock market that's made the middle class pretty rich in the past year. And he's benefited everybody. When the stock market was at its worst, Nancy Pelosi made the most money. She went from being worth roughly $12 million to being worth almost $36 million from 2008 to 2010. $12 million to $20 million to $35.7 million, if I remember the numbers correctly, in 2008, 2009, and 2010. One of the worst economic periods in America. So she feasted. Do you think anybody else feasted? No. Stock market was in triage. But Donald Trump has made sure everybody's feasting. Are the Democrats feasting? I'm sure they are. But everybody else is. Because that's what you do when you're a conservative. You go, I'm going to make this stock market benefit anybody that wants to play. It's going to benefit you. And wait until the waste and the fraud and all these other things start to come out of this stuff. You're going to find out we're going to clean up the stock market. It's probably going to settle. But then it'll come back stronger because America will be stronger. The dollar will be stronger. The economy will be stronger. But that's how you do it when you're a conservative. But you don't do that when you're a leftist. You only want to feather the nest of everybody else. So we were talking about what they're willing to do to destroy these people. And Lisa Bloom acknowledges this is an attorney who's gathering women to make false allegations against Donald Trump. Now, does it make you think about the false allegations against Bill Cosby? They aren't false allegations against Bill Clinton because he was broke. When the allegations came against him, it was just, this is the way the guy is. And Jennifer Flowers, who, by the way, is a beautiful lady, lounge singer, she's like, look, I had an affair with Clinton for a better part of a decade. You know, I didn't want any money. I loved Bill. You don't believe her? Juanita Broderick didn't make any money off Bill Clinton. She's just traumatized from him. But Lisa Bloom is looking for people so that she can accuse Donald Trump of doing something, thinking it's a payday. Look at O'Reilly. He said, I'm in this mix. These are people that she is getting together. Once somebody goes, I've accused Bill O'Reilly. Oh, he's rich. Let's all accuse him. This is a market. Pay for play, ambulance style chaser. And when are political donors leveraged to pay legal fees for this kind of nonsense? When the fate of the free world is at stake, silly. And Trump's election was going to change the fate of the free world, at least according to the leftists. So they were willing to do anything. And Bloom said this. She said her goal in securing money was not to pressure women to come forward, but to rather help them to relocate or arrange security if they felt unsafe during the waning days of a vitriolic election. But she wouldn't identify any of the donors. Now, I'd love to get Tom Fitton of the, whatever his group is, the Judicial Watch, to sue for freedom of information to get this information. Because let me tell you something. You're going to find out the donors of this were all Democrats, all supporters of Hillary Clinton. And Bloom did have an ace in the hole in terms of her payments, because she noted that she represented sexual harassment victims for free or at reduced rates. And she also acknowledged this, which is the real thing that kind of outed her. And that was, its standard part of her contract required women to pay her commissions of 33% if they sold their stories to media outlets. I want you to think about that. Our standard, this is what she writes, our standard pro bono agreement for legal services provide that if a media entity offers to compensate a client for sharing his or her story, we receive a percentage of those fees. This rarely happens, but on occasion, a case generates media interest, and sometimes, not always, a client may receive an appearance fee. Folks, this is a scam. It's a leftist scam. It is a mill that's meant to keep high-profile men on alert that this could happen at any time. That's why I said to you, the only way you go at this is you fight. You just go, okay, fine. Show me the proof. Show me the text messages. Show me the emails. Show me anything, because I'm going to keep my schedule and everything I have, and I'm going to turn all my records over. So you better have rock-solid proof. And as far as guys go, you better be watching every step. She says this, as a private law firm, we have significant payroll, tax, rent, insurance, and other expenses every week. So an arrangement where we might receive some compensation to defray our costs seems reasonable to us and is agreed to by our clients. Ambulance chasing, anti-man, anti-conservative, anti-Trump, anti-American. This is not what this country was built on. This kind of nonsense. I got to pay those bills. Accusing innocent men pays well, apparently. But does anybody want to consider what the cost is to the men? Losing careers. Or do we just concede that men have had it good enough and now it's time to pay regardless? So Bloom told The Hill that she had no contract with Hillary Clinton or the campaign, but declined to address any contacts with super PACs that supported the Democratic presidential nominee. So let me save you the suspense, folks. You know for a fact that the Democrats were involved. You know this. Hillary isolated herself by saying, it wasn't me, it was the super PACs. But trust me, the strategy was set. And it doesn't matter who sets the strategy, it's been set. But it's going to backfire. I promise you it's going to backfire. Stories are already circulating. And look, we got a lot to talk about today. I know I've covered a lot of this sexual stuff, and we've even got one more story that we'll be talking about in just a bit. But this is important because it isn't about the sexual misconduct. It's about why is it being used? Why is it suddenly coming to the fore? Why is it that what women were supposed to be, oh my gosh, under Donald Trump, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? We're going to all be killed. And suddenly they're all becoming empowered. And for the record, if a woman is competent at what she does, congratulations. I love seeing competent women. I really do. I think it's amazing to watch people do a job well, but I love seeing competent men. One's no more or no less dazzling than the other. And I don't look at it and go, whoa, look at that competent woman. Where'd she come from? Like she was dropped in from outer space. There are plenty of competent women. But this kind of nonsense, running around, accusing men of things that they didn't do, ruining the lives of men, and not even caring. It's like the John Benet Ramsey story to me. I remember John Benet was accused of murdering his own daughter, and they finally figured out he didn't do it. They accused his wife. She dies of cancer before they could even clear her name. And I'm thinking to myself, really, you destroyed a family. And people are like, oh, well, doody-doo. You know when leftism is involved because it makes no apologies. It never looks in the rearview mirror. It just moves forward to the next victim, the next saga, for the next thing that they believe is the fate of the free world is at stake unless we do something this way. And they wonder why I call them scurrilous scoundrels. That's what they are.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
What's up, everybody? Kevin Jackson here. It's great to be with you. The Kevin Jackson Show is what you're listening to. KJRadio.com. There is a shakeup happening within the FBI. There is a shakeup happening in the political system. Should we just call today's show Shakeups? Man, stuff is going on that is mind-blowing, mind-boggling. Part of it has to do with the sex scandals that are going on. We talked about that last hour. It's sort of a setup to today because the sex scandals are a shakeup. And we've got one more thing to discuss with that because you're about to get sex scandaled out in the next week or so. But what you're also going to find out is just how corrupt, how crooked the left is and the FBI's part in all of this. And I say it is one of the biggest, if not the biggest political scandal of modern times. And what President Trump's attorneys consider a good sign, Special Prosecutor Mueller wants to have a meeting with the Trump team. And when I saw this story, I said, what took so long, Mueller? Because you know what Mueller knows? The jig is up, baby. He's lucky this is a government lawsuit or Donald Trump would own Mueller and he would own generations of Muellers if this were private, because he'd be suing this man for everything he's worth. CNN reported this. President Donald Trump's private lawyers are slated to meet with special counsel Robert Mueller and members of his team as soon as next week for what the president considers an opportunity to gain a clearer understanding of the next steps in the Mueller probe. You think that's what he's looking for? Do you think Donald Trump, we need to understand what the next steps are? Donald Trump's going, no, continue your investigation. Hey, when's the last time you've heard Russia in any of this? You know what the investigation is about right now? Peter Strzok, other attorneys that are involved with Donald Trump's investigation that are anti-Trump, pro-Hillary, donated to the Hillary Clinton campaign, blah, blah, blah. That's who we were talking about. We got one clip. Who is it? Oh, man, did we not get that guy's clip? It was one of the senators was speaking on. We get that for the next segment because I don't even know the guy's name, but he essentially laid out all the things leading up to how could you possibly set a team up the way Mueller set it up. We'll get that clip for next time. For the next segment. Anyway, they say, while the lawyers have met with Mueller's team before and might again, the sources believe the upcoming meeting has greater significance because it comes after the completion of interviews with White House personnel requested by special counsel and after all requested documents have been turned over. So they're implying that, well, now they've got a lot more evidence against Donald Trump. Trump is going, you know what? Bring it. Donald Trump has not rallied around Paul Manafort. He let Manafort go. I don't know why. Maybe it was God's providence. God said, let Paul Manafort go. He's a drain on the campaign. But Manafort's gone. Yeah, what was the guy's name? Papadopoulos or something? Donald Trump is saying, if those guys are guilty, go. Have you seen any conspiracy to Donald Trump to say, we're going to get Paul Manafort out. Paul Manafort's a great guy, and people are just tormenting and targeting Paul Manafort for no. Trump's like, I got nothing to do with this. If Manafort's part of it, go get him. If Papadopoulos is part of it, Papadopoulos, he was more than just a routine low-level guy. Okay, go get him. Have you heard anything more other than Manafort's writing some document for somebody, and I haven't heard a single thing out of Papadopoulos. Nobody's mentioned these guys. Donald Trump's not trying to protect them. Look at Susan Rice or Loretta Lynch or Holder, James Comey. Look at the conspiracy to help these people and ask yourself, what has Donald Trump, have you found a single article, investigative reporter talking about these other guys? The answer is no. I'll give you the short answer. No. Because there's nothing there. But they want you to believe, now that they've interviewed all the White House, Donald Trump, interview them. Get them all. Donald Trump Jr. gave over his emails. They've lied about all the different things associated with that. Everybody involved, from Jared Kushner to Donald Trump Jr., all of them are like, what else do you need? We're here. We're here to answer questions. It's amazing to me how forthcoming these guys have been. Then they go on to say this, Mueller could still request more documents and additional interviews. No request to interview the president or vice president has been made, though. Yeah, there's no request to interview him because there's nothing to be said that hasn't already been said. But like I said, here's the thing. They have requested this meeting, and John Dowd and Jay Sekulow, the president's attorneys, say this is because it's nearing the end. What else do you have? What else do you want us to focus on? Because we're here. We're ready to go. Like I said, where's Putin? Where's Russia? Where's hacking? Where's collusion? I haven't heard those words come out of a media source except to refer back to remind you, this all started with the Russians. Well, where's it ending up? Huh? Should I pat myself on the back? Because I told y'all where it was going to go. I told you. This has got nowhere to go but to spin back in on Barack Obama, the Democrats, the Clintons, the special investigation itself, Mueller, Rosenstein, whatever. All these guys. Guilty as sin. James Comey, all of them. And the question is, what's Horowitz going to do? The IG, Inspector General. Now, he's already, said, let's look at these texts, and he's the one that outed Peter Strzok. But let me tell you, if they turn over all the information they're supposed to, this thing is not going to end well. And the tipping point is with Rosenstein. Because Jeff Sessions should be the guy saying, you want the documents, we'll just turn over the documents to you. Here you go. Rosenstein is involved. I don't know to what degree. But all of them are protecting each other. Rosenstein's protecting Mueller. They're buddies. They're all buddies with Comey. They're all buddies with the Democrats. They're all part of this cabal. And Trump's letting it play out. So anyway, we got a little bit more to talk about with that when we get back. Also, I'm looking at all the things that these leftists are involved in. The situation with the FBI is really becoming untenable. And so we got a lot to talk about there. Hey, another Democrat resigned in a sex scandal. Did you guys hear about this? Yep. And the Pentagon's going to get audited. Anyway, we'll be back in a minute.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful four-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
David Brooks has written a lot of good stuff lately,
he has.
and when he talked about how there's this invisible moral fabric that holds up this society, and you can either sew it together or shred it. These guys are shredding it in order to make room for them to be able to abuse power, and it's so beneath. Well, I shouldn't.
David Brooks writes a lot about character too, and.
Welcome back, everybody. That was Joe Crazy Biden, and he's trying to say that there's this invisible fabric that holds us all together in America. An invisible fabric. It's not invisible. The thing that holds us together is the Constitution and our willingness to proclaim it as the law of the land. That's what holds us together. Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. It's funny to listen to these guys try to rationalize what they see, having come from what they've been a part of. See, Joe Biden wants you to believe that Barack Obama and he had an amazingly wonderful administration, that the era of Obama was scandal-free. He goes on to say that. But what was interesting about that clip was he goes, I shouldn't say that. And then he gets interrupted by the black chick on ABC or CBS or whatever it is, because they see that Joe needs bailing out. Joe's trying to convince you Americans that something is going on with the Trump administration, who's broken down the invisible fabric, who's broken down the Constitution, but they upheld it. They held themselves to a high standard in the Obama administration. And as I said, he goes on to say what Obama says. We had no scandals. This IRS thing that's now been admitted to, that yes, indeed, Lois Lerner indeed targeted conservative groups. Oh, well, that wasn't a scandal. And do you really need a list of the things that these guys don't admit to? Benghazi telling us that it was done by a video on 9/11.
Oh, there's a California guy making a video. Look, it's terrible what he did. That's awful.
That's what created the scandal. And I could go on. How many of these things do you think are scandal-free? You know what, Joe Biden? I mean, I don't even know why this guy would be going out on the circuit talking about a scandalous administration, other than he's been put out there to say, Joe, see if you can convince people that we're good. Come on. But I was talking earlier about Mueller's request to meet with President Trump's legal team. And what the pundits are saying is their goal is to help Donald Trump emerge from this cloud of this ongoing investigation. The ongoing cloud. Let me explain something to you. If you believe for 1 second that Donald Trump is afraid of what's going to come out of this investigation, you need to have your head examined. Donald Trump is loving this. He sees it as, I've been telling people, he's unfazed. Think of back when Donald Trump did the debates, and he come out of the debates and you go, oh, he lost. And suddenly it comes out and they're like, no, he gained 3 points or he gained 5%. And you're going, this just can't possibly be true. Well, it is. That's the thought process that the left has. They think that Donald Trump's losing the debate. They see it as, how could he possibly be winning? We've got the media. We've got it all. And what's funny, here's when you know that the left knows they're in big trouble. When they're telling you the media is the reason that Donald Trump is not, that they're on his side. Adam Schiff will play this clip later. Adam Schiff actually says that the FBI was in favor of Hillary Clinton. Others have gone on to talk, and maybe it was Schiff as well, but there are other people. They're gone on to say,
the media's in, look at what they're doing to help Donald Trump. Every time you turn around, they're looking at his tweets, they're doing this.
They can't stand that Donald Trump is a media generation machine. Doesn't matter that 90% of the coverage of Trump by the mainstream media or the fake news media is negative. If it's 10% positive, they're going, look at this, there's 10% positive news coming out of here for Donald Trump. So they want you to believe that Trump wants the investigation over. Trump is saying, no, continue the investigation. If you want to end this one, segue right into the one on Hillary. But here's what should happen. They shouldn't get Rod Rosenstein to appoint a special counsel. They certainly shouldn't let Mueller continue because he's got baggage in this whole thing. They need a truly independent special counsel. And quite frankly, I want one that's a pro-Trumper. I want somebody that is looking at this stuff. And I know this doesn't look good for the media, but I don't care. I want a pro-Trumper to go look in and say, no, we're just giving you all the records. No redactions, no nothing. We're giving you text. Here you go, Julian Assange and WikiLeaks. Check it all out. Here you go, Fox News. Check it all out. And let our media dominate the landscape for a bit and see how the left handles it. Who wouldn't pay $39.95 to see this on pay-per-view? This meeting between Trump's lawyers and Mueller. And let me tell you, if Donald Trump, if there was money to be made in it, he'd do it. He'd set it up. Right now, he's prevented from earning any money, but that's okay. But here's a couple things you need to know about the meeting. Confidence of Trump is at an all-time high. He's an innocent man, and he's now grabbed the left by their vajayjays. Second, Mueller's not going to be able to leak anything because he knows Trump's team's going to be prepared to counter. Wouldn't surprise me if Sekulow and Dow, Trump's attorneys, say, we're recording this. FYI, this meeting will be recorded. And third, Mueller has no bargaining position. It's funny to hear the left go,
well, he's going to go in there and he's going to tear Trump anew and he's going to do that.
I'm like, what kind of dope do y'all smoke over there? He's got no bargaining position. The FBI is, come on. Really? I talked about this earlier, and I'll talk about it again. Trump hasn't interfered in any way in any investigation, not with Manafort. Is there some vast conspiracy by Trump to cover up for Manafort or Papadopoulos or Flynn or anybody else? The answer is no. Now, he did throw the idea that he might, if Flynn's convicted, he would pardon him because he got railroaded. Looking at everything that happened to Flynn, this was a setup, pure and simple. But here's what I want you to focus on. Look at the cover-up by the Clintons, and perhaps worse, the cover-up that we'll find out that happened in the Obama administration. Peter Strzok, the minion doing all the dirty work on behalf of the FBI, and specifically James Comey. And I talk about Comey's torturous explanation of why he couldn't indict Hillary Clinton. And what do we find out? They changed the language in all kinds of ways, not just in that one area. All kinds of ways they were talking about this. The draft document that Comey gave on Hillary Clinton had numerous edits before the public announcement, and it was watered down considerably. And the people know this. Reasonably likely, that hostile characters gained access. It wasn't reasonably likely. They put it to merely possible, and on and on. Scandalous people, folks, and that's why Mueller's in deep kimchi, and he knows it. Going to be a fun week, trust me.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
The thing I'm proudest of in the 8 years, this is a man, I've served with 8 presidents, and I got to know 4 of them very well. I've never met any president that has more character, more integrity, and more backbone than this guy does. It was an honor serving with him. And 8 years, not a hint, a scandal.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. What's so funny about this comment by Joe Biden? By the way, this is the Kevin Jackson Show, KJRadio.com. What's most interesting about this comment is he's saying this in the midst of all the chaos that's circulating around the Obama-era FBI. We don't have a hint of scandal. Mueller, in what they called a rare move, he issued a statement addressing these texts that came from Strzok to his girlfriend or mistress or whatever. And they were like, why would you do that? Adam Schiff even says, I don't understand why they did this, why they released this. This is amazing to me. Let's play that clip.
Let's get back to the Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein. Faced a lot of questions yesterday about these text messages, controversial text messages that were sent between 2 FBI officials. First of all, you raised this earlier, but I want you to elaborate. What was the impact of the Justice Department releasing those text messages?
Well, from my point of view, it violates the very injunction that Rod Rosenstein took such issue with James Comey. He is revealing internal Department of Justice materials during the pendency of investigation and providing them to the press.
So that was Adam Schiff, representative Democrat, and his outrage is that the FBI violated its so-called procedure that was actually set up by Rod Rosenstein on behalf of the Comey investigations, and he's not upset because of what was revealed. That these guys actually have a statement in there that says we can't let Donald Trump get elected. He's not addressing that. He's addressing procedure. Can't believe that they would do this. You see what I'm saying? Now, Attorney General Jeff Sessions directed FBI Director Christopher Wray to, quote, make any necessary changes to his management and investigative teams. Because Wray now has the dubious honor of looking at all this stuff and saying, how do we maintain the public's faith in what we do? The head of the House Intelligence Committee threatened top officials at the Justice Department and the FBI with contempt of Congress citations, hurling accusations that they've been less than forthcoming about the text messages. Now, what's interesting about the text messages is people are saying, well, even Schiff goes on to say, why can't we see others? Let me just tell you, this is for us, this is as good as it gets. And I said earlier, if this case were in the private sector, President Trump would own Mueller and the next 3 generations of Mueller. And I would suggest that Mueller in these meetings with the attorneys try to cut himself a deal. Now, let's talk about Mueller for a little bit. Because I explained to you guys that Mueller is anti-Trump, and he's a fraudulent investigator. You know what? Let's do this before we get started there. Let's play the rest of the Schiff comments, because that actually has some more interesting context, and then we'll get into what I want to talk about with Mueller.
And I also think that when you look at the context of the allegations that the DOJ Inspector General is investigating, they were very selective in what they released. There were multiple reports last year that the FBI was heavily predisposed against Hillary Clinton and in favor of Donald Trump. If there are text messages that run in the other direction, why have they not also been released? Why only this selective release? That's the problem with doing it this way.
So what Schiff wants you to believe, and he said, there's something he said earlier, I'm not going to go back and cover it, but he said something that was really poignant at the end of that when he's talking with Wolf Blitzer, but I want to cover this aspect of it, that he wants you to believe that we haven't seen all of it. We haven't seen the people that said we don't want Hillary. We've only seen one side of this. Now, let me tell you, it's excellent subterfuge because it gets you thinking, well, maybe there are some anti-Hillary people. It's certainly possible. She can't be universally liked. Even in the text where these people are going back and forth, it's not like they love Hillary. It's more like they hate Trump. But he's implying that there are others out there. So what he's doing is he's saying, can you go find some? So we can offset what's been said here. They are saying that this is a stacked deck. We can unstack it if we could create some text messages that show that there are people that were just as anti-Hillary as they were anti-Trump. So that's one of the things that he's trying to make us believe. He's also trying to mitigate it by saying it really hasn't been investigated or adjudicated. So you can't just take for granted that everybody's pro-Trump. I mean, anti-Trump. You can't just do that, even though there may be no other evidence. The FBI hasn't said, no, we have zero evidence of that. Now, the other thing he wants you to dismiss is that nobody's accusing Hillary of anything. Right? It isn't like Hillary's under investigation for the Russian collusion or whatever. Frankly, she should be, but she's not. They're looking at information that could be prejudicial to the person who's under scrutiny. But he doesn't cover that. Well, why aren't they looking for things that are pro-Hillary? Because or anti-Hillary, because Hillary's not under investigation. It's that simple. He wants you to understand that it's been balanced. There are people out there who don't like Hillary within the FBI. So it was balanced. So what you're hearing about Peter Strzok and all these things that are connecting him to not investigating Hillary properly. One other quick point to this whole thing. He said that what he's implying is that Peter Strzok is not that big of a deal. This is the guy whose emails we have. This is a guy who's been critical to each element of this investigation. Did you hear me say each to each element of this investigation? And he's going, well, we need to see emails of other people. Why? What do they have? Did they interview Hillary and all her surrogates? No. Did they change the language that Comey eventually came out in his messaging? No. Did they interview General Flynn? No. So what do we care about their emails? These, for all intents and purposes, these were minions. But that's what he's trying to do. He's being very slick. Now, I want to go back to what something Schiff said that I think is very poignant to the conversation. Because what he ends up doing is he's impugning the FBI by saying they're playing cover their butt. So here's the clip.
He is revealing internal Department of Justice materials during the pendency of investigation and providing them to the press. What is the explanation for that? There really is no good explanation for that except a self-serving one from the department. And
all right, everybody, welcome back. Kevin Jackson here. So what's funny to me in hearing Schiff now go, just to recap, you've got all these lefties, Rod Rosenstein, you've got Mueller, you've got, but by the way, those are the two that made the decision to release the information on the text that came from Horowitz, who's the inspector general. He's the one who found this and said, why hasn't anybody brought this up? This really doesn't look good. And so these guys said, you know what, we better come clean with this because this is spiraling out of control. And the other side knows that this is here. So they release it. Schiff comes along and says, why'd they do it? That's not a procedural thing. Rod Rosenstein wanted to prevent this when Comey did it. when Comey was doing all this stuff, he was the one that implemented this rule that said you can't do that. But they broke their own rule. And he's going, why are they doing this? Are they trying to protect the agency? That's what he's concerned about. Are they trying to protect themselves from something? What Schiff is now concerned about is the FBI is going, uh-oh, we're caught. We can no longer play the cover-up game here. We've got to fess up, come clean, and try to salvage something. Which brings me back to all of the things that have come up in this entire investigation. And what I'm privy to a little bit of insider information from some FBI guys that work there that are not friendly with Comey and Mueller and many others, and they're starting to say it's unraveling. In fact, they say in the next few days, we're going to get the most amazing dump of information that we've had so far. And that's why I come back to Mueller's meeting with the president. This is when I got the information about what's about to happen. It was late Friday. And I'm telling you, this week, if things go the way that they've been going, and I'm going to get more into it here in just a second. If it goes the way it goes, you're going to find out just how crooked this FBI is. And I'm telling you, I preached how Mueller was no good. He's an anti-Trump, fraudulent guy who they set up as the investigator, and it wasn't because I had any special insight into Mueller. So when we come back, I'm going to play a clip that'll kind of set the stage for who Mueller really is, who's a swamp snake.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Dark blazer, white red or blue pattern tie. This is the unchanging uniform of one of Washington's most respected insiders, and the Justice Department's pick to lead the investigation into Russia's interference in the 2016 election. The choice of Robert Mueller for special counsel has been met with unusual universal praise from both sides of the aisle.
I think he's a person of great integrity.
He'll be above politics.
You will not push him around.
Completely unimpeachable in all respects. He will investigate the matter and follow the facts wherever they may lead.
From decorated war hero to crusading prosecutor to unyielding FBI director, this is how Robert Mueller came to be considered the least biased man in America.
That was the beginning, the introduction to us of Robert Mueller and how amazing he is. Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. 844-551-8255, kjradio.com if you want to send us a note. Now, what's funny about that is they went in afterwards to tell us Robert Mueller at the age of 3 began exhibiting integrity beyond belief. There was no such person like him. They knew from a young age that Robert Mueller would be unbiased. He would grow up to become a Marine. Wounded in combat, Purple Heart. Legion of Navy Valor, such and such of a soldier on a cross. You know, I mean, on and on. How great he was. And then I went to research the dude and went, wait a minute. He ain't all that in a bag of chips. And I told y'all, I said, too many. Nancy Pelosi, Robert Mueller, he's amazing. John Lewis. Oh, he's above reproach. There's nobody like Mueller. You know, all the lefties And then a handful of right-leaning politicians, supposedly. Oh, well, he'll investigate and he'll do the best job possible. There's nobody that can corrupt Robert Mueller. But see, I already knew. I knew the gig was up, or the jig was up, whatever you want to call it. I knew that he was a swamp snake because I got a big clue when James Comey, after he was fired, he got asked about Mueller's capabilities, and Comey did not endorse Mueller. He canonized the man. He went on. He's the most amazing guy. I've worked with Robert Mueller. There is no one who can impugn Robert Mueller. If there are sexual abuse, misconduct allegations against Robert Mueller, kill the woman because she's lying. If anybody says a word against Robert Mueller, well, how could it possibly be? He's the only man that you can mention. If the Pope said Robert Mueller was a bad guy, you've got a fake Pope. And I was like, wow, this guy must really be guilty of something. Mueller, they say, was the perfect man for the job. In fact, that video clip I played the audio on, the title of it was The Perfect Man for the Job. There was nobody else. And ironically, he was. Because after you've made this guy bigger than God when it comes to investigation, Robert Mueller was like, I can pull off anything, man. I can hire a bunch of people that hate Donald Trump. And people will say, no, he's just trying to make it partisan. He wants to make sure that there's a balance. Think about it. I mean, right out of the box, Mueller's like, okay, he might as well have done a casting call and says, for the people, please, I need 10 people that hate Donald Trump. Anyone? Miss me, Mr. Mueller, me, I really hate him. You have no idea. I hate him so much. Oh, you there, Miss Eager. Yeah, you, passionate. Get up here. Come on, all you strippers. And he brings all these people onto his team that hate Donald Trump. He believed he could pull this off. After endorsements like that, who could question him? And luckily for America, folks, there are insiders who stand guard at the gate. They know that of what's going on in this country and the craziness, the leftism that's taken over. And one of them is a guy, I don't know who it is. He writes under the name of True Pundit. Go to truepundit.com. And he's ex-FBI. And his Twitter name for you is Thomas Paine something. But if it'll pop up. And the people that are doing this, driving this thing, are all ex-FBI guys. And they have a knack for getting information about the FBI before the fake news media can synthesize a lie and then spin it. And the media can't stand them. These guys have been breaking stories about the FBI before it ever hits the marketplace. And I'm telling you, I thought at one point they were fake news because I'd go there and they have no references. But great inside intel. And then 2 days later, boom, it's mainstream. So True Pundit wrote of Mueller's appointment at the time, call it the 4 tweets of the Mueller apocalypse, which foretold laws would be broken in order to take down President Trump. While everyone from mainstream media pundits to green journalists on Twitter were trumpeting the appointment of Special Counsel Mueller on May 17th, only a handful of well-placed sources went against the media's Mueller's love fest. Mueller was appointed to investigate the collusion, obviously. It says within an hour of the appointment, True Pundit's Thomas Paine, who had worked with the FBI, was familiar with Mueller as the Bureau's boss, warned the news site's followers that this was the first sign of a disaster. 4 tweets. Among the harshest media critics of former FBI boss James Comey, foretold the current Mueller and Comey debacle 2 months ago, raining on everyone's celebration based on the groupthink that Mueller would exonerate President Trump. Paine clearly knew this was true. The opposite was true. And the final tweet said Mueller would break laws in order to bring down Donald Trump, was deleted by Twitter, which they do quite often on Thomas Paine's feed because they know, that this guy gets it right. Now, I suggest to you that hiring only Hillary Clinton supporting attorneys indicated how Mueller would conduct the investigation early on. And you guys are writing to me, Kevin, what do you think about Mueller hiring all these? And I went, it's kind of weird. But, what do you want me to say? I didn't know what these prosecutors were. And I'm under the impression that, there's going to be a lot of people that are anti-Trump, pro-Hillary, whatever. But justice must prevail. Because, I'm naive like that. And so as it went on, I started thinking about what would I be doing if I were Trump and this were going on? Because people were like, why won't he say anything? And I was like, that's a good question. And then I thought to myself, because if you're not guilty, and if I were just a regular citizen and they were stacking the deck against me, I'd be concerned. If I'm president of the United States and I have privy to information that they may not know I have, because believe it or not, there are people within the FBI who don't like Hillary Clinton and didn't like what was going on, and they start whispering in the ear of the president, and he can get his people to verify it and start, doing whatever they do, waterboarding, I don't care, torturing, then Trump probably knows a little bit more than we may think. So he says, let's give them latitude. You ever seen that? Let's let them bring the quarry to us. We don't have to go hunt them. They'll come to us. It plays out in movies all the time. You seen Gladiator? I'll use anything to talk about Gladiator. And the guy says the sea snake that plays dead. So the prey will come up to try to eat him, and whoop, he eats them. He bites them. So this guy issued 4 tweets, and he's talking about what is going to be happening here. He explained Payne's the relationship with Rod Rosenstein and Mueller and Comey and all that. And he said, they're not going to be what you think they are. So I understand this. I really do. We all know that the FBI treated Hillary Clinton very differently than they did General Flynn. I would love to see how they explain themselves out of this. So what does the president know? And think about when he was candidate Trump, what he didn't know, and now what he's been privy to. Anyway, True Pundit said this. They're predicting heavy December fireworks about a major scandal in the FBI that's going to further shake the foundation of the embattled agency and special counsel Robert Mueller's investigative team. They've been breaking story after story of unfolding corruption and scandals in the FBI. And now they're saying in the next few days, this week, you're going to start seeing much more. This is the tip of the iceberg. Now, what I'm telling you is this. Thomas Paine, who's writing under a pseudonym, by way of True Pundit, they have FBI insiders that are leaking them information. It's like this group. I have some friends that are ex-CIA, and the stuff they put out is just extraordinary. And I'm telling you, what you're going to see this week is going to blow your mind.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome, everybody. Kevin Jackson. It is the Kevin Jackson Show. KJRadio.com is where you can reach us 24/7 on demand. You need to be spreading the word. Hey, listen, I want to thank you the same way the Democrats are thanking black women. That's right. New strategy by the Democrats. Can you see it coming? Can you see it a mile away? Hey, black women, thank you for getting Roy Moore not elected and getting Doug Jones elected. What would we do without you, you black women? You want to know who really despises the left? They don't tell you this. Black women are smarter than these leftists think by a long shot. When I talk to black women, they get it. They look at these white chicks that go out and get married, find great men, go live with a picket fence, blah, 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 and all their feminist activities, and, have families and soccer games and vacations and stuff, and these black women are struggling. If there's anybody that the Republicans want to win over, the conservative movement wants to win over, you target black women. Don't target blacks. Target black women. That'll do it. That's why the left is doing this. They're like, we love you so much. That's why 72% of you are raising your children by yourself. We're loving you to death. You know how many black women call their sons and even their daughters from prison? That's where they get their phone calls from their sons and their daughters. Hey, mama, how you doing? You know, can you put some more money on my account? They take those expensive $12 a minute phone calls. Why does it cost that much to call from prison? Because it's a luxury. Think about what that does to a poor woman who's trying to stay in contact with her husband. I mean, or her, not her husband, but her son or her daughter who's been sent upstate. She's got no ride, no way to get up there. And the Democrats say, oh, you know what? These phones that cost $12 a minute. I remember when my uncle would call me from prison, collect call from Ray Jackson. I was like, oh gosh, I'm going to give him 2 minutes and that's it. It was like $20-25 to talk to this dude. And, you know, and I tried to, you know, just keep his spirits up and the whole deal. But I'm just saying, they care about him, but nobody's ever addressed that. Why is a prison phone call that much? So I could go on. The point is, it is our responsibility as conservatives to target these women, and I'm talking about in a good way. Let's figure out what their specific needs are, because their needs are not going to be met by the government. The government is going to come in and go, yeah, you want a little more welfare? You want a little more of this? Hey, thank you for your patronage, black women. Anyway, that's not all I want to talk about. We got a ton to talk about. Congress is scared. The Pentagon's going to get, audited. They're worried about that. They're worried about, and that's like secondary. Just think about this. The Pentagon's going to get audited. They think that there's at least $3 trillion missing. $3 trillion with a T. And I know how it's spent, how money gets spent in D.C. I know they're scared. But think about this. While all that's looming, Donald Trump's going, we may not can audit the Fed, but we can audit certain agencies, and we're going to find out where this money is. It was already done by HUD, and $523 billion was discovered misappropriated by Dr. Ben Carson. You know, our brain surgeon, the black dude that Trump hired. So lots going on there. But while all that's looming, we've got all other kinds of scandals. We've learned, in case you missed the earlier part of the broadcast, which you can find out what you missed by going to KJRadio.com. But we learned that Lisa Bloom, an attorney, tried to set up Donald Trump with these, this bimbo eruption where she is paying people to say, Donald Trump grabbed me by my naughty bits. And so up to $750,000. And there were women going, I wouldn't accept it. I don't know who these women were, who they were going after. But you know who accepted? The leftists. You know who didn't? The conservative women. They said, I'm not going to accept that. $750,000. That is a person of character. And here's Bloom out there getting money from PACs that support Hillary Clinton. And then when they ask her for the list of donors that she contacted or people that did donate, no, mum's the word. Hey, what PACs did you work with? That's electioneering, interfering with an election, and she doesn't want to give up the goodies. Maybe we should have Trump go in there and grab her by the naughty bits. As my grandmother would say, he had me by my grandfather. He had me by the short hairs. That's what he would say when somebody, had the better of him. Anyway, there's that going on. More sex scandals in fact, there was a sex scandal just recently, and it was a Democrat. Maybe we'll get into that. But they're saying there's going to be an explosion of sex scandals. They're also saying this week there's going to be an explosion of FBI scandals. And we've already got enough. If we stopped right here, we'd be okay. I'm talking about on the FBI. We'd be okay. Mueller is now scared. He's wanting to call a meeting with Donald Trump, with Donald Trump's attorneys, President Trump's attorneys. Now we're finding out, the GSA gave some data that they weren't supposed to during the transition. You know, the transition period where Obama vowed he would help make it a smooth transition for Donald Trump and his team. which essentially meant he was going to make Donald Trump's life a living hell. That's what he did. But guess who it's going to backfire on? Here's a hint. The black guy. Yeah. Barack Obama is going to be in big trouble, and we've all been waiting for it. I haven't wished it on him, but you know what? There's a point where you do go, you know what? He deserves this. See, karma's a conservative. People didn't realize this. We never knew what karma was. We're like, karma? Who's karma? Oh, don't say that. Karma will get you. And we thought karma will go after everybody. No, karma goes after liberals, leftists, progressives, because karma understands this about you and me. Karma goes, hey, at least they try. At least they have a core. You know, there's some morality there. They have ethics. They live by a set of rules. But not on the other side. So karma's like, you know what? I don't know when it happened. Somebody said it was around 1977. Karma became a conservative. But now she is. And she is coming back, and she looks like Medusa. She's got snakes on her head, and she is biting left left and right. Love karma. So we got all kinds of things brewing today, and I'm so happy that you're here. So I talked earlier about Mueller requesting this meeting for the FBI, and CNN was trying to spin it as, well, they're trying to get this investigation stopped. Let me tell you, Jay Sekulow, those guys, bring it. They don't care. Get your popcorn. Get your ticket on Fandango. Get your Coca-Cola. I couldn't say Coke because liberals will think something else. Be ready for the ride.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful four-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. So they're talking about things like a constitutional crisis. And they're making it sound as if Donald Trump is somehow thwarting the Constitution, when in fact the guy's upholding it. A guy writes, administrative employees are normally subject to the control of those appointed by politicians who have won elections. But Democrats embedded in the federal bureaucracy have proclaimed themselves part of the resistance to President Trump. And they're using their positions to undermine his administration. Bureaucrats thus frustrate the will of the voters. President Trump has been in office for nearly a year and has yet to take over control of the federal bureaucracy that normally reports to him. Now, the most powerful branch of today's government is the fourth branch, the permanent federal bureaucracy that is nowhere mentioned in the Constitution. And part of that is the media industrial complex that I talk about often. And these are the people that are thwarting the will of the people. Look, when Barack Obama got elected, there weren't a bunch of Washington bureaucrats who were saying, oh, he's got to go, and an FBI that was conspiring against him. You could say, oh, there were the people who didn't believe he was part of the, born in the United States, what they call them, the truthers or whatever. But there was no federal attempt to undermine him. There were people outside that were going, this is terrible, we got to look into it. Fine. And as far as his policies, there were people fighting against him in the normal way. But there was not this overall conspiracy that we're now seeing for Trump. And so I want to segue that into what's really happened here. The left hate to learn the truth about themselves. And as you know, in this program, The Kevin Jackson Show, we often tell them about themselves. But for all the calls of President Trump being a dictator and a Nazi, what the left is really telling you is what Barack Obama was. Look, a Nazi, first of all, isn't going to put our embassy in Jerusalem and recognize the Jews and pay attention to the Jews the way. I don't think Hitler had that in mind in terms of cozying up to the Jews. So you can forget that. As far as a dictator goes, how many times has President Trump said, hey, Congress, deal with it. Congress. Now, I'm not going to compare executive orders and all that. I don't have the numbers in front of me. But I'll tell you this. When I look at what Barack Obama did to go around Congress when he said, I have my pen in my phone, that to me was dictator. When he gave us Obamacare, something that the majority, I'm not talking, 51%, I'm talking 60, 65% of people said, we don't even want this in terms of Obamacare. And he goes, you're getting it. I don't care what you want. That to me is a dictator. And the more that we learn from the investigation by Special Prosecutor Mueller about the inner workings of Obama's so-called Department of Justice, the more we discover the absence of justice. Now, it's a broken record to talk about all the things that were done to hurt Donald Trump. But it's not a broken record because you can't state it enough when you tell people the FBI undoubtedly helped orchestrate what will soon be the biggest political scandal in American history, proven to be. It already is, but it will be proven to be that. We now know that the FBI exonerated Hillary Clinton, who was guilty of multiple crimes. And moreover, the FBI instigated the witch hunt by Mueller that has suddenly reversed itself, and it's a snake that's biting its handler. It's turned back on him and poop, just knocked him, just hit him. Yet, Newsweek reported on the FBI being called KGB is false. And here's what they said. Hours after Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein testified to Congress, the FBI Special Counsel Robert Mueller is running the Russian investigation appropriately, a Fox News guest compared the FBI to the KGB, the notorious Soviet-era secret police. Is it true? Let's see. So the claim, Tom Fitton, president of conservative organization Judicial Watch, took the rhetoric up a notch when he compared the FBI to the Soviet-era organization. I think the FBI has been compromised, Fitton said on Fox News. Forget about shutting down Mr. Mueller. Do we need to shut down the FBI because it's turned into a KGB-type operation by the Obama administration? Now, they say the context. As the investigation into possible collusion between Russia and the Trump campaign ratchets up, Republicans have taken every opportunity to portray the special counsel and his team as biased. Now, I talked earlier about how they position Robert Mueller as the best guy in the world. He's he's unimpeachable in terms of his character. And I told you, be on the lookout. So what they said is this. Fitton's question, a leading question, follows a similar segment on a conservative network a week earlier when Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett said the FBI has become America's secret police and compared the FBI to the old KGB that comes for you in the dark of the night, banging through your door. Nice imagery. But this is what I was writing, and I said, Michael Jackson's, he has a song called Smooth Criminal. And that's Barack Obama to the hilt. No more knocking down doors when the NSA happily delivers information through unauthorized surveillance. Now we know who set the stage for the illegal FISA warrants that allowed the NSA, ergo the Clinton campaign, to spy on Donald Trump. Enter Peter Strzok. Dominion doing all the dirty work on behalf of the FBI, specifically James Comey, and I wrote of the torturous explanation that Comey gave when he was trying to not indict Hillary Clinton. Then it was Strzok who changed the language, but the plot really thickened when we learned much more. So these newly released documents that were obtained by Fox reveal that then FBI Director Comey's draft statement on Hillary Clinton's email probe was edited numerous times before his public announcement in a way that seemed to water down the Bureau's findings. And this is where we get into the real gray area here. So Comey asked a lot of times, he explained intent. What was the intent of Hillary Clinton when she did this or that? What was the intent? And even though that wasn't even part of the statute doesn't care about intent when it comes to secrets of the government. If you let secrets out, whether you intend to do it or you accidentally do it, you may go to prison. But they talk about intent all the time. And the only thing that this intent was, it was meant to say to the public, dismiss this, don't pay attention. And what we're looking at is we watch what the FBI did. I mean, in interviewing General Flynn, in interviewing all the Hillary Clinton surrogates, and not taking notes, supposedly, during Hillary Clinton's interview, not putting it on the record and so on and so forth. They want to convince us that that was all on the up and up. See, that was one side being favored heavily because, as Barack Obama said, Donald Trump's not going to be president. So we're witnessing these things, and I know what you're thinking. You're going, when do people go to jail? Look, I agree. I'm not arguing that they should go to jail, but I want to just say that if there is a constitutional crisis, it's the one that the left creates when they blatantly put this stuff in our face and tell us, you got to take this. Well, we don't anymore.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Joy, listening to this alarm bell from all these right-wingers and commentators and right-wing commentators, you would think they're ready for a military coup.
Yeah.
We have to disgrace, like the Greek generals or somewhere in Argentina, we have to disgrace the entire U.S. justice system to justify overthrowing it. Yeah. What's coming here?
Well, that Washington Post story said that two of Donald Trump's favorite world leaders are Tayyip Erdogan of Turkey and Vladimir Putin. And it does seem that Donald Trump has the tools of authoritarianism down. He's got the dance of authoritarianism down to a science. Step one, claim the investigation of you is a fraud being conducted by enemies of the state. Step two, get your state-run media, your affinity media, to echo that into your base and whip them up into a frenzy against those investigating you. Step three, get the state party, in this case the Republican Party, to echo that from the seat of government and say, wait a minute, the people investigating the president are themselves criminals. Create this feedback loop that creates a feeding frenzy that has now essentially got Republicans claiming that Bob Mueller, probably the most respected member of law enforcement in the last 30, 40 years in the United States, essentially being characterized as a criminal. And then, of course, you got to add that last step, call for the prosecution of your political enemies, in this case, dredging up Hillary Clinton to again call to lock her up. Donald Trump is an authoritarian of the first order, and he's behaving like one.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. That had to be the most amazing clip you've heard in a while. Joy Reid explaining exactly how the left works, and then pushing it out. I call it transference, pushing it out against us, against Donald Trump. And what's really funny is if you really pay attention to her premise, you automatically go, whoa, hold on a second. Hold on a second. So here's what she says. She says, Chris Matthews says, why would you disgrace the FBI? That's the premise, that Donald Trump has disgraced them. Did Donald Trump write the tweets that Peter Strzok put out? Or who's the one talking smack about the president of the United States prior to him while he's running? He's an idiot, blah, blah, blah. Can't stand him. We got to make sure he doesn't get elected. And then when he's elected, who are the people that are against him through and through? They say he's stupid, whatever. But they say he's disgracing the FBI. We know Comey lied. We know Mueller and Rosenstein and many other Rosenstein, they are involved in some sort of collusion with Hillary Clinton, and there's crooks all up and down the ladder. But they want to make, in terms of disgrace, what they're doing is they're disgracing Trump and then telling you, no, he's disgracing the FBI. Yeah, because Donald Trump's, that's what he's set out to do. It isn't that they've ensnared themselves in a trap of their own creation. No, it's not that. It's Donald Trump doing it. But here's what I really like. She references the Washington Post, a story, and she says, you got to remember, Donald Trump's two favorite leaders are Erdogan and Putin, effectively two dictators. So a fake news magazine, a fake news periodical, the Washington Post, whose owner, Jeff Bezos, hates Donald Trump, who we've already known. There's got to be at least 3 articles in the last year that the Washington Post has completely lied about, been debunked, if not more. But she says, here's my gospel. The Washington Post said it. Some author, some writer at the Washington Post spoke with Donald Trump, and he says, these are my favorite leaders. I defy you. Find me anywhere. Donald Trump said, those are my favorite leaders. He might have said, Erdogan did this good. He might have said, I admire Putin for doing blankety blank. But there is no serious contextual evidence that he says Putin's amazing or Erdogan's amazing. None. So it's already built on a fraudulent notion, which brings me to the first thing that she says. She says there's 4 elements to the way that you have to gain control. One is you call the investigation against you a fraud. That's what Bill Clinton did when they started talking about Monica Lewinsky and all his affairs. That's what Hillary Clinton did when they started talking about Benghazi and the Clinton Foundation and all of her collusion with the Democratic Party. They said it's a witch hunt. What are you talking about? You can't even believe this. And what did we find out? The DNC was colluding. We found out that the mainstream media was indeed working with Hillary Clinton. We found out that Donna Brazile did feed her the answers, or the questions rather, to the debates with Trump, and on and on. But with Donald Trump, the investigation is he colluded with the Russians. And you know what they found? Absolutely nothing. So when she says the first step is you got to call the investigation a fraud. Okay, so he called the investigation a fraud. But the difference is, it is a fraud. What are you hearing? Nothing. And you're not going to. Second thing, state-run media has to echo that fraud into the base. So not only have we already debunked number 1, she says state-run media. Now what's funny is she then catches herself and says state one, and she uses a term I forget, but it was like supportive media, affinity media. Thank you. She says infinity media. That's who's got to got to infuse that fraud into the base and get them frothing at the mouth. So not only is it not a fraud that Donald Trump did not do anything wrong in this, she says if it's infused into the base and gets them frothing at the mouth, well, then that's not a good thing. So the truth isn't a good thing. So she's already on step 1, missed the mark, which means everything after that is, of course, of no significance. But then she goes on to say this. The state party has to echo this from the seat of government. And she says that the investigators are the criminals. And then what does she do? She does exactly what I told you she and others would do. They go back to Mueller is unimpeachable. He's the only honest man in D.C. Now, I go back to number 1. Investigating a fraud. It's been proven. Donald Trump is not lying when he says, I got nothing to hide from the Russians. Every indicator is that way. But this is what this woman says. Then she goes on to say this: call for the prosecution of your political enemies. Lock her up. Well, the reason why Donald Trump is calling for the prosecution of his political enemies is because they're guilty of high crimes. That's the problem. We've got people who've worked in conjunction with Barack Obama's Justice Department to create a fraud. And now they want everybody to get away with it. They said Donald Trump is colluding with the Russians, knowing that he wasn't, and knowing that they were trying to subvert the will of the people, doing everything they could, every crooked trick in the book, in order to keep this man from becoming president. And she says for him to call for the prosecution of your political enemies, that's step 4. Lock her up. Let me tell you, every single one of those points is wrong because of the very first one. Where the investigation of Donald Trump is a fraud. Joe Reid knows this investigation is a fraud. That's why she comes on and she plays the game. The left always tell you what it is that that isn't the truth, or what's true about themselves. And that's called getting ahead of it. They know Donald Trump's done nothing wrong. Now, moving along, here's what I can tell you. I believe all the members of the Obama administration are crooked until proven otherwise. That's what I believe. Obama allowed his minions, mostly Clinton satellites, to run his organization as they saw fit, and his role was to pretend to be president and to get rich, and he accomplished both. And certainly Obama felt confident that he had the right swamp creatures in place when he declared his administration scandal-free. Then he practically guaranteed you that Donald Trump would not become president, and he was wrong on both counts. With Trump's election come these revelations of just how bad government has become, and it's evil, in fact. The Obama administration reeks of scandals. And the latest involving their attempt to tie Trump to Russia is, I say again, the biggest political scandal in American history. We know the FBI is crooked. So now Americans don't know who to trust. But on it was July 29th of 2011, then President Barack Obama announced the nomination of a guy named Michael Horowitz as Inspector General for the Department of Justice. And on March 29th of 2012, the Senate confirmed Horowitz as the Inspector General. Then he was sworn in as the 4th confirmed Inspector General on April 16th of 2012. But since 2015, he's also served as the chair of the Council of Inspectors General on Integrity and Efficiency. Now, as Inspector General, Horowitz oversees a nationwide workforce of about 450 special agents and auditors. He's got inspectors, he's got attorneys, and then he's got support staff. And I learned from the attorney, I think it was Rosenstein, who said he's got $100 billion budget. And when we come back, I want to talk a little bit more about what that means and can he be trusted.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177, or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Correct?
I believe that's correct.
I believe that no one in the United States has done more to undermine the belief in the United States democratic process than the Democrats and the press in some cases when they continue to report on false allegation after allegation after allegation. In fact, what you see from the Democrats is that they move from one allegation, that allegation is proven to be false, and they move to the next one, and they move to the next one, and they move to the next one because they're unhappy with the results of the election.
That was Raul Labrador talking to Rosenstein. Anyway, welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. I want to play one other clip. This is a guy from name is Jim Hines, and he's asking about the Russia probe and coordination. And what's interesting to me is that coordination between Fox and the White House. But what's interesting to me is as he's asking all these questions, he's acting as if there's been a stonewall on the Trump administration. Donald Jr. turned over all his stuff. I believe Kushner did. You couldn't get better cooperation between the White House and all of their surrogates. But look at what wasn't turned over. Stonewalling that was done by the Obama administration. Contempt of Congress from Eric Holder. And things like this. But I want you to hear him. And then, because you are going to hear the biggest crock of nonsense. And then I want to go back to discussing Horowitz when we come back from that. So here's the clip of Jim Hines.
Congressman Schiff also said the Republican leadership of your committee has prevented you from subpoenaing Trump Organization bank records. Why is that?
Well, there's been fights, and it's not only been with the Republican majority. You know, it has been with the actual witnesses themselves on the terms on which they will provide information. Remember, everything from, yes, there have been instances where the majority has pushed back, but then, of course, as you'll recall, the president's son, Don Jr., this was widely reported, decided he was going to claim attorney-client privilege in answering questions about conversations that he had with his father, despite the fact that there really is no attorney-client privilege when you're speaking with your father, even if there are lawyers in the room, and despite the fact that Congress traditionally has not acknowledged attorney-client privilege or any other privilege in its investigation. So yes, it is fair to say that in addition to the fear that this investigation, at the probably desire of the president, is at risk of being wrapped up before we can finish off our work, it is also true that there have been any number of speed bumps along the way in terms of getting the answers we need. And again, without in any way prejudicing our conclusions, you got to ask yourself, why? If everything is hunky-dory, if there is no wrongdoing, if everybody is innocent, why isn't everybody cooperating to get the information out in a timely, prudent, and effective way?
You think these attacks on the FBI, on Mueller, on the Justice Department are coordinated between the White House and let's say some on Fox News and others in the right-wing media?
Look, no question. And, you know, whether there's a hotline between the Oval Office and Fox News, I doubt that's true. But when the president is talking about the investigation and makes it very clear he wants them over and uses the words, do something, you know, people who will sell their souls, who will trade their integrity, who will betray their positions of trust in favor of supporting this man, and why you would choose to do that, I do not know, will do precisely that. And again, you know, people like Sean Hannity, who are throwing mud on the FBI, Jeanine Pirro, some of my colleagues. Can you imagine if Barack Obama had attacked the FBI, the protests in the streets we would have seen, the indictments, the investigations? And look, at the end of the day, Wolf, whatever you think of the president, when judges are attacked for their ethnicity, when the media, something that is annoying to politicians but essential to our democracy, is attacked by the president of the United States, our democracy is at risk. And the FBI, look, the FBI has a storied history. They haven't always done exactly the right thing. But when you are attacking the mechanism of justice of the United States of America, you are setting this country up for a place where no facts are true or false. Anybody can get away with any behavior at all. And we will have something that does not look in any way, shape, or form like the democracy that has been such a gift to all of us for a long period of time.
Welcome back, everybody. That was a long speech of nothing. It's the Kevin Jackson Show, KJRadio.com, 844-551-8255. A long speech about nothing is exactly what that was. coordination with Fox. I love how Wolf Blitzer sets it up. This coordination with Fox, the right-wing media. You mean the only one that's not fake news? And the guy goes on, he says, well, it's not like they've got a hotline between the president and Fox. No, because there isn't any coordination with Fox. The only thing that's going on is Fox occasionally actually promotes the right stuff. They promote the truth. But that's considered coordination on behalf of Wolf Blitzer. But we've got proven coordination against the left-wing media, if you will. Proven. Donna Brazile at CNN. We've got 65 journalists who they've got emails back and forth between the Hillary Clinton campaign. And these guys talk about coordination with Fox. That's just amazing to me. Then he goes on to say, does it betray positions of trust? It betrays positions of trust. As if Donald Trump is the one who sent out these emails from Peter Strzok and his paramour, the lady he's having an affair with, and all this other stuff. Everything we're uncovering has nothing to do with Donald Trump betraying trust. It has to do with the left betraying trust. And I'm chuckling because it amazes me that these guys try to sell this. They really want us to believe this. And you hear it enough to where you go, okay, so then what does he do? He goes backwards. Well, when judges are attacked because of their ethnicity, when he's referring to when Donald Trump said, you got a Mexican judge who's a leftist, who's going to sit in judgment of my immigration stuff, the comments that I've made regarding immigration, and Mexicans, and you don't want me to bring it up. See, the left is used to people going, well, look, so what? He's a Mexican judge and he doesn't like me, he hates me, he's an anti-Trumper. He'll still be fair. So what? Mueller has been dyed in the wool for the left for decades. Yeah, he'll treat me fair. So what? Comey has covered for the Clintons for decades. He'll treat me fair. All the attorneys, Peter Strzok and all the other attorneys that Mueller hired, well, they're going to see justice. They're not going to be unfair. Really? So then he talks about the media being attacked. He's got the nerve to bring up the media, for goodness sake. As if these attacks on the media by Donald Trump, well, he's attacking people that are, as I said before, when you bring up Mueller, he's unapproached. How could you? His character is unquestioned when it comes to the media. Their character is unquestioned. How could you dare impugn the media? Maybe because we've noticed that 90% of their articles and discussions are negative to Trump. All of your redactions and retractions are all about Donald Trump. They're never good. And they're all after the fact when you spread negative nonsense news. Is it a coincidence or is it a conspiracy? Coordinated, same language, same lexicon. And he goes on to say, doing all of these things is attacking the mechanism of justice. A leftist who knows in his heart of hearts that the FBI has been compromised. Jim Comey lied. We've got evidence on top of evidence. It wasn't just changing one thing in the document. It's multiple changes to soften the language, which means they were doing something to influence the outcome of that investigation, which, by the way, we don't want to call it an investigation. We want to call it an issue or whatever the terminology was that Loretta Lynch said. Let's call it a little thingy. Anyway, I want to go back to Horowitz. On the website, it says the mission of the Inspector General is to detect and deter waste, fraud, abuse, and misconduct in DOJ programs and personnel, and to promote economy and efficiency in department operations. So the man that we now trust to get to the bottom of the Russian investigation fraud is an Obama appointee, and in almost his 4 years, Horowitz served under Obama. He found nothing that amounted to waste, fraud, abuse, or misconduct by the DOJ. In Fast and Furious, the Arizona field office of the FBI, what they call ATFE now, allowed licensed gun dealers to sell illegal weapons. They supposedly wanted to track the arms into Mexico as part of a sting operation. And of the nearly 2,000 illegal guns that were sold between 2006 and 2011, only 700 or so were recovered. They ended up in the hands of drug cartels, I believe, so that Obama could cause enough insurrection the drug cartels to allow us to bring Mexicans over under an amnesty act. And the guns were used to kill FBI agents, and Horowitz found nothing to investigate. Now, he went on to say that the Obama administration made it increasingly difficult for Congress and inspectors general to uncover government misdeeds and access in various agencies. That was his testimony. So before we all panic, I'm not sure if this guy can be trusted. I'm going to leave that up to you to figure out.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.